Chicago's Black Business Network has been supporting small business owners since 2008. This broadcast started in 2009. We don't do as many as we used to, but we still support small businesses as we have from the very, very beginning. All of our broadcasts have from the very beginning been dedicated to keeping the memory of Harold Washington alive and on the minds of his people. How do you remember Harold Washington? Our guest today is Nathaniel Swopes of Swopes Athletic Recruiting and Scouting, okay? You can give them a call. You'll find them on Facebook. You also can give them a call at 773-754-9403, or you can email them at swoops, that's SWOPES, athletic recruiting at gmail.com. We're going to welcome Mr. Swopes to the show now. Mr. Swopes, how are you this morning?
How are you doing today? I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So glad that you. I'm doing great. So great. So happy you took the time to join us this morning. As I was explaining to you, I know very little about sports, athletics. I'm not watching football on Sunday or watching basketball, but I wanted to learn something, and you have something that we should know about. You know, how to help youth obtain scholarships, academic scholarships, and continue their education and pursue their dreams. But first, Mr. Swopes, let's learn a little bit about you. You're a Chicagoan, right?
Yes, I'm from Chicago.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about growing up in Chicago, or if you grew up in the suburbs. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in an Auburn Gresham neighborhood, and then we moved out to the west suburbs. I lived in Chicago till about 7th grade. Well, then we moved out to the west suburbs, out towards Hinsdale and Downers Grove. So I went to Wendell Green on like 96 and Racine. Then we moved out, went to Hinsdale South High School, and then we transferred and went to Downers Grove South High School. And then I came back to Chicago and went to Chicago State University.
Okay. And you got a degree in physical education?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's in physical education, and I have a master's in administration.
Okay. So now, during the time you were working for Chicago Public Schools, and I don't know if you still do, you saw a need for this particular program. What made you start this particular program?
Well, as a high school coach, I always wanted to help my kids get into college after they play high school basketball or whatever sport I was coaching. So that's how I started, just emailing coaches and telling them about the seniors that I had. And I have a uncle who's a head Division II basketball coach, and I started sending him players, and he kind of told me I need to turn it into a business because he felt that I was pretty good at it, and that's how I pretty much started. And I created the social media, started with the kids that I already knew. I had those kids share the information that I had helped them find colleges, and then it just grew from there.
And what year did you start Swopes Athletic Recruiting and Scouting?
Started about 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
official business.
And those, okay, about 3 years ago. That's great. Now, as part, we'll talk about what you do, but as part of what you do, you indicated that you help youth get back into school. How does your organization help them with that struggle?
We have a couple kids who go to college and may drop out their freshman year or do not go at all. So the good thing about Division II and NAI athletics is there's no age limit. So, but with those levels, you can only get 10 full-time semesters. So I check in to see how many full-time semesters they have on their transcripts. Make sure they don't owe any college money. If they do, we help them get on a payment plan for the college. If they do not, review their transcripts and evaluate if they should go junior college or go to university, and we get their profile together as far as what they have as far as athletically, and then we start emailing schools, and that's how we get them in school. And then we inform them about the rules, and as far as the academic rules, semester rules, and things like that.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Your organization, does it only help? I understand that, from my limited understanding, there are a lot of sports that have athletic scholarships that we don't participate as, Black people. We don't participate in anyway, okay? To the extent that we should, or we don't have the knowledge about it. So are you specializing in basketball and football, or is this any sport? Which sports do you help students with?
Well, I help with all sports. I started out with basketball first, and then slowly branched out to other sports. So far, the sports that I have helped with is basketball, football, softball, baseball, and recently soccer and volleyball. But I do all sports.
Okay. I didn't know there was I must have read this sometime back. There's quite a few scholarship programs for volleyball, aren't there?
There are a lot of scholarships available for volleyball.
And I read that somewhere. I'm like, for real? we could get into college and we could do this with volleyball? Okay, people need to know this. I mean, if you're not going to do football, you may want to do volleyball, but you want to get that academic scholarship. That's the point of it, isn't it? It's not so much the sports, isn't it? The swoops. It's the scholarship. Am I right or am I wrong?
Right. It's about going to school and not have to pay loans.
That's right. What's the average? I knew people, when I was in college on academic scholarships, and they were probably football players. But are they getting all of their tuition covered, or is it usually just a portion, or are these academic scholarships usually for the entire amount of tuition and room and board?
Well, we've had both. We've had kids who has gotten full scholarships, or kids who's gotten 90%, and then the rest is covered by financial aid, or they get partial scholarships and then they get financial aid, and then they also get academic. So some schools they're able to offer full athletic scholarships. Some schools they stack, and they can offer you $10,000 to $20,000 in athletic money. Then they offer another $10,000 to $20,000 academic money, and then they cover the rest, which are Pell Grant or MAP grant.
Okay, and you said there's no age limit. Is this mostly undergraduate, though?
Yeah, it's mostly undergraduate. I haven't had a grad transfer yet, but it's mostly undergraduate.
Okay. Probably because of the age and the physical condition and everything. But we're speaking with Nathaniel Swopes of Swopes Athletic Recruiting and Scouting. He's our guest this morning on this episode of CBN Business Journal. Give them a call at 773-754-9403, and you'll find them on social media as well. I'm Sonja Cassandra Perdue. I'm your host on Chicago's Black Business Network. To sponsor a show, give us a call, 773-609-2226. Our sponsor today is Get Started with Living Benefits. Does your insurance policy, your life insurance policy, include living benefits? If not, you need to consider it. Get started with livingbenefits.com. Visit their website for more information. Now, the process, Mr. Swopes, what is the process if a young person, first of all, at what age should they get started with you? Should they be in college or should they be in high school? And what is the procedure to get started with your organization and to learn more?
The good thing I would say is the youngest person to have gotten started was 8th grade. And, of course, the latest would probably be I've had a kid start with me who was a bounce back kid. They were 26. So as long as they have eligibility for college, there's really no age limit as far as getting started. But I would say, it's good to get started right around freshman year or at the end of freshman year. Most universities, or all universities, they can't really start recruiting or contacting you until the end of your sophomore year. That's the legal time they can actually call you and contact you. But it's good probably after that freshman year to inform universities and send the information out, letting a lot of universities and colleges know about you before they're able to get out on a recruiting trip so they can add you to their interest list as far as the age limit or when people should get started. And like I tell all athletes, it's good to, and parents, it's good to record everything and put everything on YouTube and full, like 3 or 4 full games for the season, make a highlight tape after each high school year. And main thing I want to get as far as their profile is highlights, GPA, email, phone number. Now what's growing is a Twitter tag. Coaches want to know your Twitter tag. So those are stuff that we kind of ask for to send to coaches. And we tell our athletes as far as just being ready. And also training videos. Coaches like to know that they're training constantly, especially now with COVID.
Okay. Now, they're getting their training tape together. They're getting their highlights together. We're talking to them about their grades because they want to see their GPA as well. They're looking at their social media feeds because they want to know if you're out there acting a fool and cussing. And they need to be warned against that. Really need to be warned against that. And their attitudes, their opinions are showing up on their social media. Now, the parents are part of this process as well, are they not?
Yeah, like I tell a lot of parents, they have to work just as hard as the athletes because if they're going to the games, we need them recording, not just watching games, but they need to be recording. Okay. And they need to start with freshman and sophomore years. That's good. That's motivating them. They have goals. And so now we're looking at different types of athletes. We're looking at volleyball players. Well, hockey is not a big sport in our communities, but volleyball players, football. Are there tennis scholarships as well? Yes, pretty much any sport that the university carries, there's scholarship money. It may not be as much as some of the bigger sports, but there's scholarship money in pretty much every sport, depending on if the university carries that sport or not.
And we need to be informed about this. We need to be applying for these particular scholarships. Now, after they get started, are you part of the recruiting process? I mean, are you with them when they're sitting down with these coaches? How are you advising them once they start interviewing with these universities or colleges?
Just I tell them to make sure they respond as far as phone calls and emails, informing parents to respond to coaches. We don't want a coach message or email you and you don't respond to them. A lot of times coaches are talk to me before they talk to the kids, so just making sure I say the right thing so, the coaches are interested in the player. And if the coaches reach out to them first, just, telling them things to say is, just getting right to the point. And we always tell kids that don't say, well, yeah, I have a lot of schools recruiting me. I just don't know right now. I tell them to, whatever coach calls you, make sure you sound like you're very interested in that school. Never let a coach call you and you're just like, well, I got a lot of schools. I'm thinking about waiting. I tell them to sound like they're ready to commit early, talk like they love that school and want to go to that school so we don't lose any interest from any school.
That's the reality of it, is because you may not get accepted from those other schools, and you don't want to lock yourself out, okay? We, as they say, we don't need to go around smelling ourselves. We need to know who's making decision here, and they are not making the decision. I don't care how good they are. There's a lot of good people. They are not making the decision. The person on the other end is making the decision, and that's who we have to cuddle up to a little bit, okay? So in other words, it's like interviewing for a job. Actually, I mean, you are getting numeration, so it's like interviewing for the job, and they have to be taught how to interview because they don't know. No one starts out knowing these things. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Right about that.
And they need to know that they need to know that they need to know, because you know we all 17, 18, 19. We think we know everything, you know, and we think, and the bottom line is we know nothing. But you know we think. Are you doing Zoom with these people? Are you Zooming with? Are you hosting Zooms now so that people can be more aware of what you're doing and come in and ask you questions and that type of thing?
I've done one Zoom. I did it with the Detroit volleyball club. I was invited to do a Zoom with their athletes, but I have not started setting up my own Zooms and information. I have not did that. That's actually a good idea. Something I should do.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just maybe need to get yourself invited to some more, and then you don't have to work as hard. I believe in that, okay? So that's one thing, because once you start setting up Zooms, then you have to start recruiting people to come to your Zooms and so forth and so forth and so on. So now you've created some more work for yourself. That's just my consultation, okay, Mr. Swopes?
Okay. No, that's a good idea, though. That's a good idea.
So you may want to just talk to these athletic departments at these high schools and colleges and get yourself invited. Well, high schools maybe. Get yourself invited and get yourself invited to more Zooms. It does not have to be athletically based. People need the information in other types of Zooms. So you come in to a Zoom about businesses because you are a business owner, and you explain what it is that you do and tell them how to contact you, because they would have no idea, because they're not they're not out actually looking for sport advisors. That's what I would call it. It's sport advisors or a sport counselor or academic counselor. They're not even aware that you exist, Mr. Swopes. So if I were you, I would do a lot of Zooms on a lot of different business platforms and talk about what I do. And then you don't have to do all the work. That's what I'm doing this year. So I'm just letting you know, okay? It's easier than trying to get people to come to yours. Let someone else do the work. But you can do both if you got the time you want to do it and that type of thing. Let me ask you another question. We talked to Nathaniel Swopes of Swopes Athletic Recruiting and Scouting, and he assists young people in getting academic scholarships based on sports, so that they can follow their dreams, okay? Give them a call, 773-754-9403, and maybe you ought to try and get good with volleyball. That would, talk to your children. Maybe they want to do some volleyball, okay? Maybe they're already playing it. So coming up now in this pandemic that we're in, what's going on with the sports, Mr. Swopes? How is that affecting the young people coming up? It's a difference. Tell us what's going on.
Well, a lot of states shut down sports for a certain amount of time. In Illinois and New York, I think, are still shut down. So it kind of hurt players being seen by coaches, because the NCAA and NAIA put recruiting restraints on a lot of coaches to go out and see players. So it actually helped, the pandemic kind of helped my recruiting business be more in demand, because parents need help sending their kids highlight tape out to be seen by coaches. So a lot of recruiting holds. Coaches can recruit in some divisions like D2 and NAIA. They can recruit in-state, but they really can't recruit out of state for some of the schools or some of the conferences. But I know as far as D1, I don't think they can go out and recruit until April right now. It may get pushed back again. So it has really hurt as far as coaches being able to evaluate kids and come out in person. I think some coaches do watch the videos of a lot of showcases and things like that, but a lot of states, like in Illinois, they can't even do showcases because everything has been shut down by the governor.
So this is a critical time, too, to get some academic counseling as to what do I do now. That has to be very frustrating It's real, it's life, it's real, as I was talking about in the beginning. It's a new reality, and you have to know how to function in it. And you've got to know how to manipulate it and make it what it is that you need for it to be. Everything is not about us. Obviously, this is about us, but it doesn't work the way we want it to work. And we have to be able to circumvent this in life, whether it's a pandemic or illness or whatever it has to be. You have to be able to circumvent it, evaluate it based on facts, people, facts, based on good information, and make a decision. A lot of times we make decisions, Mr. Swopes, and you know that the young people do this, old people do this, and all kinds of people do this, based on false information. We think that something means one thing, and that's not truly what it means, and we make a decision based on that. But we need to come back to the best of our ability, because still there are a lot of unknowns, and make decisions based on the facts. And you can probably help them with that. From state to state, there's different regulations. From state to state, some are open, some are closed. From state to state, from school to school, some coaches are doing this, some coaches are doing that. Some are not doing anything. So this is overwhelming for them, and it's going to be overwhelming for their parents, okay? Particularly if their parents have never been to college and they don't understand the process anyway. So some people think that they don't need advice. Yes, you do. You need some advice, people. You really do, okay? So this is where they can get it. Swopes Athletic Recruiting and Scouting can help you with that because there's more to things than what we see sometimes, okay? And there's more to things than what we're reading on Google sometimes. Tell us what it is that you would like for, if you were speaking to a young athlete right now, what is it that you want him or her to know about what it is that you can offer them?
What I like to tell young athletes is that I can get them on a broader scale of colleges, knowing them, whether in-state and out-of-state, that we're going to create a profile. We're going to send your profile to every D1, D2, NAI coach, and every D3 coach in your state, and every other coach in the United States. We're going to send your profile out to those coaches. So you can go from getting just looked at by 2 or 3 local schools to getting looked at by at least 20 to 30 schools nationwide. So that's what I like to tell kids. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and we just want to be able to help you and find you the best opportunity to continue following your dream and playing the sport that you love.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And you said in-state or out-state, so any state. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we send the information to every D1 across America, every D2, every NAI. And because a lot of D3s don't offer as much money, we typically send the information to every D3 in-state. Okay.
And I'm sure the athletes out there know what that is, because I don't. But anyway, they're different leagues, I'm assuming, okay? Mm-hmm. Sounds good to me, though, Mr. Swopes. Sounds good to me. But do you have any final words? I want to thank you for joining us. Do you have any final words for our listeners?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity and coming on the show. I really appreciate it. The blessing when I can just spread the information and let more people know about my business. Again, if anyone is interested, I'm available on Facebook, Swopes Athletic Recruiting, Instagram, Swopes Athletic Recruiting, and Twitter, Swopes Athletic 1. And then, again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity.
And I want to thank you for being with us. I want to thank you for doing what it is that you do. Mr. Swopes is in our Chicago Business Network Facebook group. By the way, people, we have 18,000 people over there. Come over and join us. And I saw him post his business there, and I didn't quite understand it, so I wanted to learn more, and I wanted you to learn more because that's what Chicago's Black Business Network does. We connect people. And thank you so much for being with us, and I want to hear from you again. I want to hear from you again, and I want to, maybe we can do some testimony. Maybe some of your athletes can come on and, talk about how it benefited them. Because I think that's important for people to know that this is available. There are multitudes and multitudes of scholarships available for our young people. You've been listening to Chicago's Black Business Radio Network. I'm Sonja Cassandra Perdue. Join us next week on CBBN Business Journals. We appreciate you and we love you.